Though speculation about Mike Tomlin's future with the Pittsburgh Steelers has run rampant over the past handful of years, it feels as though it has legs for perhaps the first time in a more meaningful, tangible way. For the better part of nearly 2 decades, Tomlin has been the bedrock of organizational continuity in Pittsburgh, a franchise that prides itself on stability at the head coaching position and has made that long-term approach part of its identity. Yet, for the first time since he replaced Bill Cowher in 2007, observers around the league are beginning to wonder whether the winds are finally shifting and whether both sides may be nearing a point where a change in leadership is no longer unthinkable, but rather a logical next step. The Steelers got off to a fast start this season with a 4-1 record, one that momentarily masked some of the underlying issues that had carried over from previous years. Since then, however, the team has stumbled to a 2-4 mark and seen its lead in the AFC North dwindle in the snap of a finger. The early season confidence, the sparks of offensive rhythm, and the moments of defensive dominance have all given way to a familiar pattern: inconsistency, injuries to key contributors, and a general sense of stagnation that Pittsburgh has struggled to escape since the mid-2010s. These recurring themes have become increasingly difficult for fans and analysts to overlook, especially as the Steelers attempt to keep pace in a division that has quickly become one of the most competitive in the NFL. That story is eerily similar to the one that played out in 2024, when Pittsburgh was 10-3 entering Week 15 before collapsing down the stretch, losing its final 4 contests in the regular season, and watching the Baltimore Ravens seize the division crown. The Ravens would later eliminate the Steelers in the wild card round of the playoffs, adding insult to injury and reinforcing the notion that Pittsburgh, for all of its early success that season, was not among the league's true contenders. Patterns like these, strong starts followed by late-season disappointment, have frustrated portions of the fan base and fueled ongoing debates about whether the franchise's long-standing approach remains sustainable in a league that evolves rapidly year after year. There's no denying Tomlin's excellence, leadership, and legacy in Pittsburgh. His resume speaks for itself: a Super Bowl title, multiple AFC Championship game appearances, consistent playoff berths, and perhaps his most widely cited achievement, a remarkable streak of 18 consecutive non-losing seasons. It's a feat unmatched in modern football and a testament to Tomlin's ability to navigate adversity and maintain locker room stability even during lean years. At this point in time, though, it's worth wondering whether a change of scenery would benefit both sides. If things keep trending downward, that outcome could become a reality, not because Tomlin has suddenly become ineffective, but because even the most successful partnerships sometimes reach a natural conclusion. NFL insider Josina Anderson put out a report insinuating that a longtime NFL head coach is pondering a potential move, with some around the league believing she was referring to Tomlin. Anderson's wording stirred immediate conversation and speculation, particularly among national insiders and beat reporters who have followed Pittsburgh closely for years. Meanwhile, there is a longtime NFL head coach out there who is considering wanting a change of scenery and has told others of these thoughts, Anderson wrote. If he acts on those lingering feelings, his departure would clearly add to the list of vacancies. Although Anderson did not name Tomlin, the description fit him neatly: a veteran coach with deep organizational roots who has recently faced pressure and scrutiny unlike anything he experienced earlier in his career. There's no way to confirm whether Anderson was, in fact, alluding to Tomlin in this case, but the possibility of him leaving the Steelers feels more on the table this upcoming offseason than at any point in the last several years. Historically, Pittsburgh has been an organization that resists radical change. The Rooney family has long valued patience, loyalty, and measured decision-making over knee-jerk reactions. But even with that track record, the current moment has a different tone, a sense of recalibration that arises when both sides have quietly acknowledged that the status quo may not be delivering the results they envision. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette's Ray Fittipaldo also touched on the topic in his weekly chat, stating that he doesn't see a world in which Pittsburgh simply lets Tomlin go and eats the final 2 years of his contract without having him in the building. Doing so would go against virtually everything the franchise has done in its modern era, from a financial and philosophical standpoint. Instead, Fittipaldo floated a scenario in which the two sides could mutually agree to part ways, a dignified, face-saving compromise that would allow Tomlin to pursue other opportunities while sparing the Steelers from having to pay out the remaining total on his contract. I don't see the Steelers eating the final 2 years of that contract, Fittipaldo wrote. Maybe there's a common ground where they mutually agree to part ways. Tomlin gets another job and they're not on the hook for the entirety of that contract. That type of agreement would not be unprecedented in the NFL. Over the past decade, several prominent coaches have left long-term posts via mutual separation. Cases such as Andy Reid departing Philadelphia, Sean Payton stepping away from New Orleans temporarily, and Bill Belichick's recent exit from New England. In each instance, both the coach and organization benefited from a reset that provided clarity, autonomy, and renewed energy to all parties involved. With Tomlin's reputation and standing across the league, he would almost certainly have immediate interest from several organizations, particularly those seeking leadership stability, cultural reset, or veteran experience. It's easy to lose sight of everything Tomlin has accomplished amidst the team's 6-game playoff losing streak and the unspectacular performances that have defined much of the past decade. Still, his list of achievements remains impressive: a Super Bowl 43 victory, a second Super Bowl appearance, consistent playoff contention, and an 11th place ranking on the NFL's all-time wins list for head coaches, currently sitting at 189 victories. Replacing Tomlin would not be easy, and the Steelers know that better than anyone. A new head coach brings uncertainty, even if that change appears warranted. A new philosophy, new schemes, new staff, and new expectations would all follow, and there is no guarantee that the next chapter would resemble the success of the Tomlin era. Though there was some talk of Tomlin departing Pittsburgh last offseason following the team's disappointing conclusion to the 2024 campaign, with the Chicago Bears even going so far as to gauge interest in him before being swiftly rebuffed by the Steelers, a separation never felt likely at that time. It felt premature, abrupt, and out of character for a franchise that has historically maintained the most conservative coaching turnover cycles in the league. But if the team can't turn things around this season, the context shifts dramatically. A team that appears stuck in neutral cannot afford inertia, regardless of past achievements. None of this means Tomlin would surely leave in that scenario, but a compelling case could emerge that he has simply run his course in Pittsburgh. Coaches, like players, have lifespans within certain environments, and even legendary figures can reach a point where the message no longer resonates as strongly, or the challenges feel more cyclical than solvable. Whether it's by way of a trade, a mechanism increasingly used for top-level coaches, or simply hitting the open market and landing with another organization, the possibility of Tomlin heading somewhere else is more realistic today than at any other point in his Steelers tenure. Comment if you think Mike Tomlin will finally say goodbye to the Steelers. Who would you like to see take over as the new coach? Thanks for watching and see you soon.